Join us at 8 o'clock tonight on Channel 13 for The Chevy Show. This is Alabama's best in television.
Stand by camera 1, take camera 1, stand by VTR 2.
Everyone's on to a Christian Science Committee. At 1 o'clock, The Big Picture, and at 1:30, the Bessemer Civic Corral. This afternoon.
Go to 3, take 3, stand by camera 2, 6. Mike and Kewen. Roll 6.
And just a few moments on WVT Channel 13.
Roll yo.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
Welcome to this NBC 13 News special, celebrating 50 golden years.
It's been a lot of years up here on Red Mountain. Hard to believe it's been 50 years since NBC 13 first started sending pictures out into the air. A lot of years, a lot of faces. Those folks have watched as our world shifted, changed, improved. And they've given us all a window, looking out at our communities, our country, and our world. 50 years. Seems like just yesterday that Channel 13 first went on the air. Remember?
Hi everyone, I'm Mike Royer, and I want to see if you remember this sound. NBC and Channel 13 used to use that sound all the time. But when Channel 13 first went on the air in 1949, we weren't NBC, and we weren't WVTM.
CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
WAPI.
Voice of Alabama, Protected Life Building.
50 years ago, the folks at WAPI Radio decided to try their hand at what some folks said was just a passing fad, television. They called Alabama's first TV station WAFM. Back then, only about 10,000 homes in Birmingham owned a magic lantern. There were less than 40 television stations in the whole country.
13.
The people that thought television wouldn't last weren't being unreasonable. The year before Channel 13 went on the air, the television industry lost $15 million, and that was 1948 money. But the people at WAFM saw something in television, sort of like an artist looking at a blank canvas. The possibilities were endless.
Time now, 9
So
o'clock.
WAFM hit the airwaves. Back then, we weren't an NBC station. We actually carried both CBS and ABC programming, and of course, we had original local shows.
Wrestling on Saturday night, Sterling Brewer. He was a host on, had live studio wrestling. Studio would be packed full. Wow. People mad, hollering, whooping. And then we'd have to go on, while they were clearing out. You couldn't hear yourself talk, but I guess it went out over there all right.
Television.
Local programming had arrived in Birmingham. Every day, Channel 13 treated viewers to music shows, news, wrestling, a never-ending variety of entertainment and information. And along with those shows, we got to know the people who brought them into our living rooms.
They had the energy, they had the brains, they had Thad Holt and Lionel Baxter and Dave Campbell and Maury Farrell and others who just had that pizzazz, had that panache, had that feeling, and it was exciting.
Of all the people that brought you local news and entertainment, one man in particular put a smile on faces of young and old alike. His name, Cousin Cliff.
Hi, boys and girls. This is Cousin Cliff Holmes.
Hi, boys and girls. It's your old pal, Cousin Cliff. You know, I spent a lot of time in these studios. This is my first set from my Tip Top Clubhouse show. We used it from 1954 to 1958. Then we had the Popeye show. We used this set from 1958 to 1969. These sets were right in the same place where the folks bring you NBC 13 News today. Now, before Channel 13 built their new set, though, this room was pretty much empty, except for the four walls. And while they had it empty, I got together with some folks who've worked here a long time. Come with us as director George Fickner, cameraman Ronnie Long, Walter Rice, Tim Hollis, and I look back at the way things used to look here at NBC 13. And the mothers used to sit back there when the kids would leave.
We still got the rigging up there, Kyle.
Oh.
The rigging is still up there. Come here, cuz.
Oh, get out.
Yeah. Too bad the backdrop isn't. You see the pulley over there?
Oh.
Yeah.
Man.
Pulley here?
Yeah, I see that.
Oh, I'll be
So all you got to do is get the flat back, and we can hang it back up here, and away we go.
Yeah. This will be my 6th comeback. I make a comeback about every 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
So you better hurry, because I ain't going to last much longer. That's where we kept all my Pepsis and stuff. Yeah, that's where we kept Pepsis. And you remember those candy bars? You remember when I had Butternut and Baby Ruth? A lot of people knew of me. I made two pictures in Hollywood. One this way and one looking this way. I had 3 companies after me out there in Hollywood. Yeah, gas company, electric company, phone company. Well, I want to work, for the prestige.
Right.
And I mean, you can eat that.
Bring that.
Oh, we had a tray with.
It's a wonder we didn't get fat.
I am telling you, it is wonder. I got Jack's cards. I didn't bring them with me because they quit. Yeah, they got a date on them. They expired 35 years ago. I used to do that morning show. Yeah.
Cuz used to sit in the booth and intro a movie, and he'd read all the credits.
Oh, God. I'd make up names, boy. Make up names.
Right over there in that corner.
Amos Schickelgruber. And
yeah. There used to be a kitchen set over here. We had big old drapes.
I was going to say that wall back there looks like it's been there a long, long time.
There was cabinets up here.
Yeah, big kitchen cabinets.
White metal cabinets.
God, I'd forgotten about that.
Commercials, remember? He'd stuff them full of Red Diamond.
Oh, yeah, coffee.
That's all you had in the cabinet was coffee.
Have the whole cabinet. Some guy out here with coffee nerves.
Oh. Cat had to do this early morning deal, and he'd come up here in his pajamas and
yeah, that was early, but I just lived right down the street.
Yeah.
I'd do a 5-minute act, and then I'd do 5 minutes of apologizing for the first 5 minutes. Kids were down at Mother's right here, but when they first got here, we'd have them up in that booth up there. We had them in the booth. And
was that the control booth at the time?
No, it was a client's booth. It had pretty seats in there and everything. Had a TV monitor.
Until they got unruly.
Yeah, till we caught a couple of them trying to get on the show.
Right. Down there.
Yeah, it was in that corner there. My stage.
What did the clubhouse look like? What was it? I forget what it looked like.
It was, my daddy had built a clubhouse back there. Yeah. It had boards and everything.
Yeah. And then we made the one that folded up, and that was the ship.
That was the Popeye, yeah. Tip Top was the first show I had, 3 years. And it was a puppet stage. You remember that stage was on wheels? We'd roll it out here.
Yeah.
And me and Ann would get behind there and do the puppets.
Yeah.
And then I'd have a place over there to do tricks and commercials.
Right.
Didn't have kids on the Tip Top show.
Or commercials either.
No. We had Tip Top. Yeah, no kids, no commercials. I think they were trying to get rid of me.
Right. Now the Tip Top didn't, right?
Oh, no, Tip Top didn't take that much room.
But when his dad built the big Popeye set, it went 40 feet. Is that about what it is? About 40 feet?
Oh, yeah, the whole back curtain there was Tip Top.
It was like 2 5 by 40 hinged together, and we'd fold that sucker down and then get over here, and we had a boat winch or something that we'd winch it up with.
Yeah, we'd fold it up. It folded in the middle.
Sometimes we'd forget and fold a kid up in there.
Oh, yeah. We lost several kids. And then had to tack all that stuff and then paint it all. And it was beautiful, man, I'm telling you.
We had a show called Cowboy Bob.
Bama Bob.
Bama Bob. And his very first day, he had to do a back teen commercial. And he had the copy right there. And he read it over and over and over, and it was live, you know. And he said, okay, I'm ready to go. And somebody said, well, Dave, leave the copy. No, I don't need no copy. I'll put it over here on the side. So he got behind that counter, and the camera came on, and go. And he started reading the first lady. He just read the whole thing. News set. We're running here for a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had our sports set right here with 2 4x8 sheets of plastic paneling.
Do you remember the time Everett was doing a show and the scenery fell on him?
Bear Bryant show was right down there also.
Well, we had a little bitty studio at one time, don't you remember?
No,
yeah.
I wasn't here then.
We had a little bitty
Now,
studio.
we had the Willis brothers.
Yeah.
Their show was right over there.
Yeah.
Vic.
Yeah.
And what was their other name?
A guy.
Guy.
And what the
Indian.
He was a nudist.
Yeah, wasn't he?
His name was Running Bear.
Right. Wrestling. Set up a ring right here in the...
And women would bring their pocketbooks with bricks in them. And they'd hit the wrestlers with those pocketbooks, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we should have had some way of protecting those guys.
The wrestlers?
Yeah.
From the women?
Yeah. 53, Everett called out there and...
How do you know about it?
I had been on the Benny Carl show up here a couple of times.
As a guest?
And I did Tip Top Clubhouse, too. Golly, George used to go with me on public appearances. Man, I couldn't have done that without you. You know what? I stopped and think about it.
You wouldn't have done it without...
Well, I wouldn't have done it, no.
This is where Bama Bob was.
Well, that was where the rear screen projection was, you remember?
Our rear screen projection, we had one slide. It was a palm tree. And it was supposed to be a cowboy shot.
Palm tree. He was a Hawaiian cowboy. There was a big projector back there, and we had a screen. You could put a
person out here and make it look like they were in front of a real palm tree.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just, that's a shame that it's gone. I wish we could do it again.
And a big old hello to you, boys and girls.
When we continue our celebration, we'll hear from Alabama's Uncle Bill, and Channel 13 shines the national spotlight on Alabama.
And it had to be back in the 40s, late 40s, I guess 49, because it still had that name.
Yeah, WABT.
Yeah. It became WAFM TV after that.
The regular audio man over there in television was Lloyd Honeycutt. He was a wonderful guitar player. And the producer, the music producer, and the kingpin and my best friend at 13 was Henry Kimball. I don't know if anybody's mentioned him, but we lost Henry a few years ago. He was the most talented man that ever hit Birmingham, Alabama. My mentor, my buddy.
This NBC 13 News special celebrating 50 golden years, brought to you by Jack's Hamburgers, your Birmingham area Ford dealers, Chevron Gasoline, Alpha Insurance, and your local Chrysler dealers.
There's a pecking order in cars. You know, you have your big luxury cars, and then you have your fancy sports cars, and then you have your fancy sports luxury cars, and then you have your sport utility vehicles, and then you got me. I'm okay with it. I still get Chevron with Techron.
Every car deserves Chevron with Techron.
I got 4 wheels just like the rest of them.
Ford's Big Time 10 event is back with the best offer yet on Escort, Contour, and ZX2. Now get $1,500 cash back on these 3 great vehicles. Or lower your monthly payment with 0.9 financing plus $750 cash back. A second annual Big Time 10 event means big time savings. Hurry in today and get $1,500 cash back on Escort, Contour, or ZX2. Or get low 0.9 financing plus $750 cash back. Only at your local Ford dealer.
When Wendy needs car insurance, she calls Ted Roberts, her Alpha agent.
In fact, I started there in 1953. I was booth announcer. I did the weather, did news, did sports with absolutely no qualifications for sports. But occasionally I was called on to do it. Introduced movies, had a kids show called The Balloon Goon. The technology is unbelievable now. Then it was unbelievable too.
These days are here again. The skies above are clear again. Sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again.
Remember that tune?
Happy days are here again. Well, that was a theme song for a program called Snicker Flickers, right here on Channel 13. When? 1953. Hi, I'm Bill Wright, and thank you, Channel 13, for asking me to come home to wish you well on your 50th anniversary. Remember, Prof. Murphy, Yule Murphy, and I did a program midday called Snicker Flickers, and happy days, we're here again every day. Then in the afternoon, I did Uncle Bill's Fun Shop. Actually, in 53, I took over the afternoon here at 13 when good buddy Benny Carl moved on to Channel 6. And Benny and I, for 4 years almost, were friendly competitors. He's still the same wonderful guy today that he was then. We've been in touch. Well, in 1957, Lionel Baxter, that's a name that many of you will remember, and I came to Philadelphia, and we had WIBG Radio and Channel 12, WVUE, that was under the aegis of Storer Broadcasting. Through those years, I have met many, many interesting people. Had the pleasure of appearing on the American Bandstand with Dick Clark. Visited with Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson at The Tonight Show. Also met many other wonderful people like Robert Goulet, George Jessel. Some of the old-timers will remember the ambassador from Hollywood, George Jessel. I'm the clown in that picture. And many of you will remember at the time the hottest television program was The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Robert Vaughn, and David McCallum played Ilya Kuryakin. Remember David? Anyway, this was when he visited Philadelphia. That's my son Bill, my son Kevin, and the beautiful goddaughter Kimmy Pappas. It's been an exciting ride for 45 years. Actually longer than that since I've been away, but you know, the basic point is to be able to come back. My family, I have two brothers, John and Lee, and their wives still live here, and all of their children. Rest of us are kind of scattered around. But I have a wonderful family in Philadelphia, and I'd like to share a picture of them with you, my 5 children. Unfortunately, we lost my son Bill in 1978, a tragic, tragic death. But these are my 5 children, Kelly, Kevin, Paul, Peter, and Kate. And now I want you to meet the new star of our show, just a year old 2 weeks ago, Cole William Wright. That's Paul and Liz's son. I think that might be it, with the exception of they thought that you might like to see this album. I think it's pretty much outdated now, but I did produce an album called The Rebel White's Gold Mine of All-Time Hits at one time in my career. It's a little hard to be modest in 2 minutes, but I hope you understand. I've spent the last 10 years or so in volunteer work, working in drug and alcohol abuse, particularly with young people. That's very close to my heart. So, thank you again, Channel 13, for the opportunity to say hello to all of my friends through the years. This will be Bill Wright saying, all my love, Uncle Bill.
The skies above are clear again. Sing a song of cheer again. Happy days.
Hello, I'm Fran Curry. You've probably seen these images hundreds of times. In the 1960s, Alabama was pushed into the national spotlight. People all over the country saw these pictures, and much of the footage was shot by Channel 13 cameras.
WAPI, Birmingham.
Back then, our call letters were WAPI-TV. You'll remember we went on the air as WAFM. That lasted from 1949 to 53, when our call letters were WABT, for Alabama's Best Television. We kept those letters until 1958. But WAPI Radio had been on the air for years, and Channel 13 decided to make those our TV call letters. We stuck with those for more than 20 years. In that time, Channel 13 gave Alabama folks a glimpse of what was happening from around the world to our backyards. Channel 13 was there for the birth of rock and roll. And in the early 1960s, Alabama made headlines all over the world. Our state took center stage in the civil rights movement, fire hoses, dogs, marches, and the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church. We also covered a volatile young man who would change the face of Alabama politics.
And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
WAPI's pictures were seen around the world. In some ways, our station brought attention to the problems of segregation and helped bring about change. About that same time, a young, promising president was shot in Dallas. Channel 13 showed the pictures, and a nation mourned. Later, a war in Asia took many of America's men and women away from home, and Alabama soldiers were no exception. Some came back, others didn't. Channel 13 kept viewers informed about Vietnam and helped them celebrate when the fighting there ended. But the news of the 60s was not all bad. Channel 13 was there for the Beatles, and we were there when a group from right here in Birmingham hit the big time in the music world. We were there through Woodstock, Free Love, Wounded Knee, Stonewall, and our country's 200th birthday. They were some of the biggest stories of our generations and stories Alabama folks got on Channel 13.
When we come back, Channel 13 moves into the information age, and Alabama moves with us.
This is the engineer. I spent 45 years in the business. I still don't have those pictures fly through the air. You know, a lot of people think television just happened. We're just reminiscing here about that we were kind of the stepchild of radio for 5 years because radio was the kingpin.
Oh, yeah.
We've got you covered.
At NBC 13, that means
news from your hometown.
A homeowner says she'd only heard about the problem one time.
Breaking news on the scene.
Took over 100 people to fight that blaze, many more.
Stories that affect you and your family. Live news from around the state.
Now, folks, with the Tuscaloosa County school system and first alert warnings keeping you ahead of the storm.
NBC 13 News. When you need to know, we've got you covered.
Okay, I admit it's not exactly cool to agree with your parents, but when it comes to food, my mom does have a clue. Jack's. I mean, it was her favorite place as a kid, and now it's mine too. Their food really rocks. Fries, burgers, all the cool stuff I like. And I have healthy stuff Mom likes too. Hey, who says kids and grown-ups have nothing in common?
You'll go back to Jack's for more.
The event you've been waiting for is here. The biggest selection of award-winning minivans, from the lowest priced to the ultimate. Now for a limited time during the National Chrysler Plymouth Spring Sales Drive. Get big $1,000 cash allowances, or our lowest APR 1.9, or our lowest lease rates on every award-winning minivan. The National Chrysler Plymouth Spring Sales Drive, for a limited time only. See your Chrysler Plymouth dealer today.
The low price place.
What do you do after you've already lowered thousands of prices?
If you're Food World, you lower even more. We're doing it again.
Food World is lowering even more prices.
And I like it. Lower prices, I like that.
We like it too.
We're doing it again.
Wherever you see this sign, you'll save even more.
The low price place.
We're doing it again.
That's great.
Food World, we're doing it again.
Yeah.
In 1960, Channel 13 put together the first news department in the city of Birmingham. We were the first in the city to have a news department that did nothing but cover news, didn't do anything else. The world has changed with satellite communication, with ENG, and that has caused you to look outside the borders of Birmingham or Alabama to cover stories, where we look inward to cover the stories of just Birmingham and Alabama. And I was privileged to be on the air for 21 years, from 60 to 81, doing all kinds of things.
Hi, I'm Jim Dunaway. I grew up watching Channel 13 in the 70s and 80s from my home in Alabaster. And what I saw made me want to get into television as a career. Now, this is what our studio looked like when we called ourselves Action News 13. Now, I remember watching American culture and attitudes change, and Channel 13, it was changing too. It was the era of disco, Watergate, and 3 Mile Island. And here in Birmingham, history was being made.
Good morning, I'm Ken Snow. Today, Birmingham gets a new mayor. He's Dr. Richard Arrington, and he's the first black ever to hold that office.
I'm Pam Huff. Today's inauguration is being held at the Municipal Auditorium in downtown Birmingham. And our Carl Daniels is there with the live action cams. Carl?
Thank you, Pam, and good morning, everybody. Here at the auditorium, a large crowd is on hand for this historic occasion, the inauguration of Birmingham's first black mayor, Dr. Richard Arrington, Jr.
I, Richard Arrington, Jr.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I am eligible for the office of mayor.
That I am eligible for the office of mayor.
Channel 13 was WAPI until 1980.
This is Alabama's 13
That's when we became WVTM. That stands for Vulcan Times Mirror. Vulcan for Birmingham's famous statue that stands just outside our station, and Times Mirror for the company that had just purchased us. It was the era of Ronald Reagan, Boy George, Chernobyl, the end of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall had just fallen. John Lennon was shot, and rap became a major force on the music scene. Shows like The Cosby Show and Cheers made NBC the #1 network. As Channel 13 entered the 90s, some new faces came on board, including a young man from Alabaster who grew up watching and wanting to be on Channel 13. And now the Magic City will have a new mayor in 1999. Now, we don't know who that person will be yet, but one thing's for sure, NBC 13 will be there, keeping Alabama in the know.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melina Cunningham.
And I'm Melanie Johnson. For 50 years, Channel 13 has worked hard to keep you up to date on the news, and we keep you posted about what's going on in your communities.
But we've also, from time to time, managed to have a little bit of fun. Now, look closely. You might see a familiar face dressed as the Fonz.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
Woo, Miss C is looking cool there. Melina's gonna have the best chance of seeing the Fonz.
I always thought you were a good reporter. I know.
Look, they've encased Derek in carbonite.
Kevin, what are you doing?
Very bad. Thank you very much.
Great Scott, Elvis. We're being hijacked.
There you have it. It looks like the original robot has been outclassed by new technology.
Let me at him. Let me at him.
Derek, I am your father.
You maniac! You blew it up!
We got to find this guy. He stole my collection of 45s.
And here at the foot of the stairs, a bronze cherub greets us.
Watch NBC 13 to guarantee the force will be with you.
Our shows Will and Holly on a routine expedition.
Then bring me Carter.
Coming this fall to NBC, Rod Carter and Yaphet Kotto in...
I just needed to use the phone.
Now where's that street pod?
Elvis has left the building. Thank you and good night.
When we continue our celebration, we'll catch up with the men and women who kept us informed and entertained for 50 golden years.
The good part was every Sunday, Bear Bryant and I would give each other crap about, I would be doing Auburn, he was doing Alabama, and he'd say, well, did Beasley drop a pass yesterday? And you guys quit making payments on his house, and he'll hold on to that. And I said, well, did Musso fumble yesterday? He said, yeah, Johnny fumbled. I said, take away his brother's drugstore. I mean, he won't fumble anymore. So we had a lot of fun in those days.
It was called Today in Alabama with Chris McNair. Everett Holly was here then, and he approached me. And I guess he was the program director at that time, and he approached me and asked me if I would do it. And believe it or not, I was a little reluctant at first. And I don't know, I think I maybe had the feeling that they were going to tell me what to say or how to say it, and I didn't want anybody doing that.
I'm Gary Stokes, President and General Manager of NBC 13. You know, a lot of people have gone up and down these stairs over the last 50 years, and not all of them people you've seen on air. Been photographers, salespeople, newscast directors, even satellite operators. Well, several weeks ago, we gathered some of our extended family together at the Birmingham Museum of Art. And if you've ever worked or been around anyone who's worked in television, you'll know what happened when we all got together. So sit back, watch and listen as the people who helped build this station from the ground up tell the story of how it happened. I want to welcome all of you here today for what we like to think of as a party, a celebration, and a look back to the people who helped make the television station what it is today.
What did you like doing best?
I liked it all. Oh, I liked it all. There wasn't any bad.
I enjoyed weather a lot. I really did. That was a good challenge for me. And it was a good crew to work with up there doing it. Yeah.
Doing my morning show, we'd have 2 cameramen, and everything was live for 35 years.
Notice any differences in the weather?
Oh, definitely.
At least covering weather.
It's a whole different ballgame.
How so?
Actually, you don't even have to be a weatherman. You can just follow the patterns. You watch the weather long enough, you can almost tell what's happening on your own.
Some of the people here, it's marvelous that I could recognize them, and they recognize me probably by my voice and not by my face. I'm sure that's what it is, because I'm the kind of the guy that starts his mouth going, then I go off and leave it running.
Oh, how are you? Good to see you. You were the beard. Yeah, well, I have to change a little bit.
And a lot of stars and a lot of people. They were taking a lot of pictures back in those days, weren't they?
They sure were. It's wonderful you still have.
You know who this fellow is? He played Chester on Gunsmoke. Dennis Weaver. Here's Tex Ritter. You may know his son, Jack Ritter now.
And John.
And John, right. This is Tex, his father, who sang the song High Noon in that motion picture, and me interviewing him.
Benny, looks like you had a great time.
Oh, I don't know if you know this or not, and you look like you don't. My program became the longest running local TV show in America, and stayed that way until Tom York beat me.
Usually some guy will come up, and say, I was on your show. I said, yeah, I remember you, the one that crumbled up all the cookies and put them in the girl's back. and they say, how do you remember that?
Yeah.
They did it.
They actually did it.
They did it.
We're just reminiscing here about that we were kind of the stepchild of radio for 5 years, because radio was the kingpin.
Oh, yeah.
You had 4 radio stations here, and Channel 13 worked with the distributors. All your TV sets then were sold through distributors. And it was kind of the deal, which comes first, the chicken or the egg. In other words, you had to have programming on, but somebody had to pay for them, so the distributors did. And they sponsored the Berry and Barron baseball, 10 distributors. It was my job to write 10 one-minute commercials. Well, I had no trouble with RCA because they were kind of pioneers in TV with NBC, and they had more material. When I say material, they probably had scripts already written out and maybe some slides and maybe some film. Well, I had no trouble the first night. Second night, I didn't have too much trouble because Zenith had the porthole screen. A lot of the old timers will remember that Zenith had it was actually a porthole, a circular screen. And so they had some material. But boy, did I have trouble the other nights. It was like reading and making up commercials from spec sheets.
Art never forgets that.
Yeah,
Anytime
I never
Art
forgot
sees me,
that.
he says, hey, the only guy that ever got kicked off the loop.
Yeah, that's the only media guy I ever remember who got kicked out of a Barons game for getting on the umpire.
That's all right.
The tough part was being a producer, hearing all that. And Ed Jamison here, Lloyd Honeycutt over here, and the film would roll and break, and then you'd go, where's the cart? Who's playing the cart? And Lloyd's going, he's trying to get which cart he's juggling, I don't know, nobody gave me this. Red Baron, Jim Saltzman, standing in the tape room back there going,
I was sold in sales 9 years ago. That was 7 years. I'm still famous, infamous for being a photographer.
Yeah, being our David Morris.
And I guess part of that is because I had to create stuff. Nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
So people kind of had, remember Peter Hoffman?
Nobody's still doing it to this day.
Channel 13, before we went on air, we'd all go up in the studio, radio studio, and practice. And they had the wrestling on from, I guess it must have been from 10 to midnight. Anyway, we were rehearsing in the radio studio, and I went in the restroom, This masked wrestler was in there. And I wanted to be friendly. I mean, it kind of scared me when I walked in. I said, hey, how you doing? You look. I said, who you wrestling tonight? And he said, you. I said, you're not wrestling me. We had a lot of fun. And one time I was fiddling on 13, this wrestler. He could play a fiddle a little bit. He came up and just took my fiddle and pushed me aside and started do-do-do-do-do-do-do. He was really putting it on.
When we come back, a look at the faces that brought you the news and made you smile.
I definitely still feel part of that family. And I guess we always will because we were there so long.
Oh, I'm sure it was more fun in the studio. We weren't as prepared as the kids are now. You know, they're prepared. They know more of what they're doing. But because we didn't always know what we were going to do, it made it more fun because it was an adventure. First job at 13 was weather girl, not knowing a thing about it. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do on TV is 13. I bet you grew up watching me, didn't you?
If you're looking...
I was working at Glenn Strickland Tire Company, pumping gasoline. They had all these TV sets in the showroom. There'd be 200 Zeke Clemens on. I said, boy, I want to be on there one day. We had a lot of fun up there. Sterling Brewer, Big Hearted Eddie, all my band. I think it's one of the most popular shows I ever had. Midnight on Saturday night. Oh, a lot of people started out on the show, but I guess the most famous one was Tammy Wynette. And she was such a good singer and so popular with the people, I told her, I said, you need to go to Nashville and get you a recording contract.
Hi, I'm Louise Fletcher, and I want to wish Channel 13 happy anniversary.
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Durden.
And I'm Mike Moore. By now, you've probably seen our new NBC 13 studios. It's part of our plan to take WVTM into the next century.
A lot of faces have appeared on our airwaves over the years, and women have made huge inroads in the communications field.
And where would our station be without the guys? Well, here's a look back at some of the men and women who brought us news and kept us entertained.
Because you about a shark-ass man. About a shark-ass about a shark-ass man.
When we return, a look at some of the NBC 13 moments you've never seen before.
I wish you all the very best. Happy birthday, NBC 13.
It's a real treat for me to be a part of NBC 13's 50th anniversary celebration. I sure wish I could be there with all of you in person to toast this historic milestone. I will always be grateful to Channel 13 and the people of Birmingham for taking me in and making this Midwestern Yankee feel so very much at home. I miss you. Happy anniversary, NBC 13, and here's to the next 50 years.
If you're looking for big savings on a new truck, then this...
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ken Lass.
And I'm Jerry Tracy. NBC 13 puts on nearly 30 hours of local newscasts every week, and the vast majority of those shows get on the air without much difficulty.
But, and this is very rare, sometimes technical or human error can cause a foul-up in the show.
It's what most folks call a blooper. Now, goodness knows it's never happened to Ken or me. What?
I've got to switch around.
Oh, all right. Okay, all right.
Well, here's a look at some NBC 13 moments that either never made it on air or that we wish hadn't. Good night, everybody.
Jerry's in with our first look at weather. Jerry?
Terry, very definitely a night. Hi, Terry. How you doing? I'm going to keep moving this, and eventually something recognizable may show up here.
However, the bombs did hit their targets. You'll see the attack just as the pilot saw it when we come back.
So today on Cooking with Gas, you add a Darla Turner, you add a little pepper. Howdy, neighbor.
By the way, they're doing the famous Democratic Macarena behind me here. You know what I'm saying?
But can offenders be real... or...
All right, I want the coffee checked right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
We'll have details on... As Haiti's exiled president prepares to go home, more help is on the way for American troops there. Have all the highlights of high school football.
You're on a 13. All the excitement is right here. As a matter of fact,
Mike Browning's been on the run now for more than 2 days. Doubles!
I am Fran Curiel. Sorry.
That's according to a study by UAB researcher in this month's Pediatrics.
And search...
What are we doing here?
Reporting for today, Derek Toomey, NBC 13 News at 10. That doesn't make sense, does it?
Coincidentally, the search now focuses on 2 counties.
Ow.